This year in New Zealand, the most common language spoken will be English. But over the 3 most recent census periods, the number and proportion of multilingual people, which is people who speak more than one language, has increased to almost 19% of the population. But what does being a multilingual society mean? What are the benefits and what are the drawbacks? Is New Zealand the warm, welcoming and inclusive country that our tourism commercials sell? And what of the experiences of the people from refugee and migrant backgrounds who've made it to these shores? During International Languages Week, you'll hear stories from people of 5 different backgrounds who speak 5 very different languages. But you may be surprised at the commonalities between them.
Hallo, ik ben Frank. Ik kom van Maarsen in Nederland. Ik spreek Nederlands, Engels, Duits en een klein beetje Frans. Hello, my name is Frank. I'm from Maarsen in the Netherlands. I speak Dutch, obviously, English, German and a little bit of French. Before we decided to go to New Zealand, we had a cozy life back in Holland, you know. I mean, things were ticking along just nicely. You get to the stage where everybody gets a girlfriend or boyfriend. At some point, everybody is going to buy a house and everybody's going to get children. And we were sort of looking at that happening all around us, and we thought, like, nah, there's something missing, you know. It was all sort of mapped out, and we wanted something more than that. So we started looking around and got to New Zealand. New Zealand has, at the time, had this treaty with Holland, which is some kind of Second World War thing, where you could freely move between borders as long as you could keep yourself rolling for the first year financially. And so that was easy because we were both working full-time. So we decided in 1992 to pack our bags and move to the other side of the world. Haven't been in New Zealand. A lot of people say, like, what? You never been to New Zealand before? You haven't checked it out? And we thought, no, just, you know, we'll just go. And if we don't like it, we'll go back again. I mean, that's how easy things are, really. And yeah, we got to New Zealand, and it was awesome. We were married at this point, and we were big time into tramping, and that was, you know, New Zealand is your oyster, you know, it's everywhere. You can go anywhere you like, and it was an incredible feeling of freedom. Obviously, there's another side of the coin as well. We had to find work, and we didn't have a clue. Our English was, although improved, it was very much based on the American television, what you've picked up there. So a lot of Kiwis could not or would not understand what we were talking about. So that was a steep learning curve. Also, very shocking for, you know, Scandinavian sort of country is that they're not actually waiting for you. It's, you know, it's not like, wow, this guy's from Holland, you know, let's give him a job. Nothing like that. So things were also economically, they were not that great in '92. So both my wife and I managed to find a nighttime job in a factory doing, you know, those little toilet ducky things, assembly. Lovely job from 5 p.m. till 1 a.m. at night. I was very, very pleased that after about 2 months I was able to find a job in a very small photographic studio, which was my profession in the first place. The good thing was, it was not really hardship because you were incredibly free. You know, there are no bonds. The money we were making, we were just burning up on petrol, going to see every corner of the country. An old 1971 Ford Cortina, you know. Basically, the reason we left to break with, you know, ordinary life. As soon as we got into New Zealand, we bought a house and got children. And did the exact same thing as our friends back in Holland were doing, you know. And that's just that's just how it goes, I suppose. Yeah, when we arrived in New Zealand, the language has definitely been a steep learning curve. New Zealand slang is a sort of incomprehensible for the rest of the especially the non-English speaking world. A lot of things were quite funny. I remember I was trying to find some crepe paper. The colored paper that we were doing a jungle theme party or something like that, and I was going places like Whitcoulls and asking for crepe paper, and they were looking at me like, idiots you are, you go to a supermarket, and I'm like, why do I have to go to a supermarket? They won't sell crepe paper, which is the Dutch pronunciation, obviously, but. Yeah, it took quite a long time. Sometimes frustrating, but interesting to notice that in my job, which is photography, I don't find it an hindrance. And I'm also not very fazed by it. I mean, I always say to people, listen, if you don't understand me the second time, just say so, and I'll I'll just keep giving you directions until you understand it. When I was speaking Dutch, it would obviously be easier to put my thoughts into words, which is in English used to be a lot harder. In the beginning, especially also technical side of English was a lot harder because I've done the School for Professional Photography back in Holland, and all the terminology is obviously that I learned was in Dutch. The other thing that I had to change around was, even though New Zealand has gone metric 20 years ago, all the photography terminology is still in inches. So when I first heard about a 5x7, and I'm thinking, what are they talking about? There's a 5x7, which is obviously a 13 by 18 centimeter print. Simple thing like that. I just could not in the beginning envisage what size we're actually talking about here, which now obviously is not a problem anymore. So little things like that, you need to know what you're doing straight away without delay. And that took me a good 6 months, I think, before I got to that point. My wife and I obviously spoke Dutch together for starters, but then the kids came along and they are A, not really interested, and B, all their friends speak English. So we switched as soon as they went to preschool, almost unnoticed, I have to say. Right now, we have this funny mix apparently, which I'm absolutely not aware of. My youngest, my daughter, is quite interested, or becoming sort of interested now. They're both in their late teenagers, and she's now becoming quite interested in speaking Dutch. So she has these words that we pick up, like things like washing basket, which we still call wasmand. Things like that. Slippers that you wear in the house we call pantoffels, because they are typical little things. All day-to-day kind of little things that we taught them the Dutch word for, and that they sort of still hang on to. Bathing rope, badjas, things like that. That are being used to on a day-to-day basis, but apart from that, it's all English now. And I think we even fight in English. So yeah. Do I feel fortunate to have 16 million people doing the job for me of keeping the Dutch language alive? Yeah, I guess I do. Yeah, it takes the pressure off me, that's for sure. Although I don't really perceive it as a pressure, but. We are very laid back, or maybe we've become laid back since living here. I think actually that's it, because in Holland it's very much the German way. Everything needs to be done and in a certain order, in a certain time, and stuff like that. And I've been much more unfazed by things. Let me put it that way. Whereas when we first came here, I can see that the reputation that Dutch people have here, which is both good and bad, I find a cultural difference in general, the Dutch speak their mind much, actually a lot, a lot sooner than whereas a Kiwi would sort of try to avoid the confrontation, which the Dutch find quite necessary to get their point across, which is quite often seen as rude here. It also doesn't help that the English way of saying please before and after every sentence, which I think it's quite a nice thing to do. But that's something that in the Dutch language is non-existent. So you can just imagine if you request something without saying please at the end, people think like, stuff you. Yeah. I think in terms of multiculturalism, Christchurch is a wonderful place to live if you're settling down, or if you or to have your children grow up. But there are also some issues here, I think, in terms of racism. They're not big issues, but they're there. It probably takes quite a bit of a rebuild first. So we have a CBD to look back at. Typically, at the moment, all the cities are growing expansionally except for Christchurch, and I hope that it will change. I'm actually confident it will change to a big city that it deserves to be, and multiculturalism will grow along with that. That's my hope and my trust in the future. Now I'm going to give you a quick Dutch lesson on how to pronounce certain things. We'll start with the greeting. Hi, I'm Frank. How are you? In Dutch that would be hallo, ik ben Frank. Hoe gaat het ermee? I'll do that slowly now. Hi, I'm Frank. How are you? In Dutch that would be hallo, ik ben Frank. Hoe gaat het ermee? And I'm from Christchurch in New Zealand. Ik ben van Christchurch in Nieuw-Zeeland. I am a photographer. I shoot both weddings and commercial. In Dutch that would be ik ben een fotograaf en ik schiet zowel bruiloften als commerciële fotografie. You can find me on visser.co.nz. In Nederlands, voor degenen die willen zien hoe ik eruit zie, mijn webadres is visser.co.nz.
The story you've heard today is by no means a one-off. People like Frank arrive in New Zealand hoping to make a new life for themselves and their families. But that journey is not always easy. It's up to organisations like Christchurch Resettlement Services to help make New Zealand home for people from refugee and migrant backgrounds. But CRS could be doing more right now for the men, women and children who need that extra help. Through your generous support, Christchurch Resettlement Services can continue to meet the needs of this city's relatively small but exceptionally valuable refugee and migrant community. So please, visit crs.org.nz/donate today and support the work of Christchurch Resettlement Services. That address again, crs.org.nz/donate. And thank you for the part that you're playing in the future of this great city.